Power Couples show where you are getting a sneaky, amazing behind the scenes look at the dynamics of being in a power couplehood. It's pretty incredible and pretty shitty sometimes.
This episode will be scintillating.
Welcome to another scintillating episode of
Scintillating.
Power Couples. And we are streaming on all sorts of different
Yeah,
places.
we're all over the place here. So if you see,
How you know it's another great episode of Power Couples is that we do this at the end of our week. So what that means is that there's always like kind of this funny chill vibe because it's when we record this show, it's Thursday, but for us it's Friday. And I don't know why I laughed at that. We have a lot of fun on this show because we just put everything down and see what you all want to talk about. And we're talking about the dynamics of being a couple in a relationship because those are the people who are following us.
Right. Let's talk about.
My name's Elizabeth Ocean. This is my hubby, Stephen Ocean, and welcome to the Power Couples show, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome to Power Couples. In this scintillating episode, we're going to talk about the week we just had. The goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, the darkness, the pits, the workings of, like in entrepreneurship, sometimes it was Sunday night and we went to bed early and I was like, I am ready for Monday.
You felt that on Sunday?
I did. I was like, I'm ready to go. And I woke up Monday.
You felt good.
And it was like, I forgot that there's a battle that happens for my heart every single day and wasn't like fully in my mental space for it. And I took a beating Monday and Tuesday. I took a beat down. A beat down.
Oh, that's what was happening earlier in the week. Because for the last 2 days, I felt good. But this is the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
And the journey of being in a conscious relationship.
And the journey of just being a human on this planet.
It's like this. It's like,
yeah.
And that's the way it goes. And I think that's one thing that I'm really realizing. A lot of times in my life, I thought, oh, it's just going to stable. Like, I'll do this healing work. I'll do this healing workshop. I'll do this, like, I'll take a trip to India and then I will be healed.
How'd that work? Yeah.
But the dips are less for sure. But lately, you and I both have had some to really like.
Yeah, we seldomly don't go through something at the same time. It's usually like an ebb and a flow, and I'll be here and she'll be here, and then I'll be
in a good place, and I'll be like, I'm struggling, and he'll hold me, and vice versa.
We both were hammered. Monday, Tuesday, we were hammered.
Both of us. Ooh. So what do you do when you're in a relationship and you're both going through some challenging times at the same moment? Like it's challenging. Going through stuff at the same moment. And that's what we thought we would work on because this is our therapy session with you.
Oh yeah, y'all didn't know.
This is our therapy session. This is what we thought we would talk about with you all today on this episode of the Power Couples show. Is like, how do you work through your own crap? Why do you work through your own crap? And how do you work through it at the same time with each other? Oh, I can hold that. Water me.
Water you. Yeah, so one of the big things, it's kind of slipped away a little bit in the week, but I remember being Wednesday morning, so I have a morning, if you've been watching the show, I have a morning routine I do every single day. Like I hit these same things every single day. The purpose of it, to increase my capacity, to get me actually battle ready. Let's call it this, what it is. There is a fight for our heart going on every single day, whether you know it or not. If you believe in light, you got to believe in dark because they're both there, and it requires this like growth, this like strengthening to be able to like continue to go through this stuff and not have them take you out completely. So Monday, Tuesday got hammered, and Wednesday I was just starting to get into a workout that I was doing. And I remember this voice in my head, and it said, remember what you're fighting for. And I was like, it snapped me out. Like in that moment that I was still feeling like I was doing a video, and I was like, I don't want to do my video. I don't want to do my workout. I don't want to do my day. I don't want to do my gratitudes. I don't want to have end of day discussion with my wife. I don't want to have any of it. And this moment. It was like, remember what you're fighting for. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like I was taken out for 2 days, forgetting that there's there is an everyday constant thing that's happening that's trying to get at your heart and take you out and take you down and take my heart and take me down and make our relationship not work. So we isolate and we go back and we lone wolf and we do the thing, because when we do, we give ourselves the worst punishment that you could possibly give a person, and that is isolation.
Yeah.
And in isolation, that voice that's inside of every one of our heads will bombard and take us into the darkest pit, the darkest journey known to humans.
Have you ever noticed that, everybody who's watching this? Like, just put isolation in the comments. If you notice that when you feel crappy, you'll isolate, and the isolation makes you feel more crappy. And then when you feel crappy, you'll isolate. And it's just this spiral. And even isolating within your relationship or your closest friendships, it's like there's an isolation that happens when you feel the worst. And it's like, that's the time to lean in the most. But I'm guilty of it. Like when I feel the worst, I'll isolate the most.
So uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable, and that's the worst. But then we have this thing that we do every day, no matter what, even if we're feeling crappy, even if we're like butting heads,
Yep.
even if we're having like what I would consider a full blown fight.
Oh, man, I gotta remember that moment I laughed.
Let's talk about that. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Got it.
Even in the because we were like, what are we going to talk about? We got a story to share with you, and it is very quite vulnerable and really cute and funny and hard and all the things. So what was I going to say? Even in the moments when I feel like we're fighting, we still have things that we do each day that reconnect us.
Yeah.
And that is so important, is like our daily check-in.
It's an increasing like our capacity to hold things
in our relationship,
in the businesses and the stuff that's going on. You know, when the kind of I'm going to use these words because they're potent enough to give us the understanding of what's happened. When the attack happens, it's that I'm not taken out for months at a time. Sometimes it's just hours, and I'm like,
it used to be days. He'd
yeah.
be taken out for days or weeks, and I'd be like tiptoeing around. Hello, everybody. We got Instagram followers saying hi. Oh, I love when the hearts come through. What was I saying? Oh, he'd be taken out for weeks, and I'd be tiptoeing around being like, ugh. But now he's taken full responsibility in such a big way that I don't have to tiptoe around anymore. Like he knows himself more than he ever has. And I think this dynamic is true as well. Like the women, we've been working on ourselves for a long time.
Yeah.
And we'll get together with a guy who's like an incredible human, but hasn't done the deep layers of inner work that we've done.
Yeah.
And so there's two dynamics, actually. There's two dynamics. One is the dynamic of the woman being in a power position, the decision maker. Oops, careful of that carpet there. It's like here.
Oh, hey.
Here we go.
A little magic carpet ride.
Let me just fix this. Oh yeah. The Real Fires Travel says, holy heck, yes, we need to hold space for masculine healing in our partnership. Absolutely. So there's two dynamics that happen. One is that women right now in this particular dynamic that we're talking about. So if you got a different dynamic, then go make a different show. But this dynamic that we're talking about is when the woman is in a power position, the decider, the income producer, the like controller in the relationship, the one who's like leading the relationship. There's that. But then there's also the added dynamic of she's the one who's done more interpersonal work.
Mm-hmm.
And that combo is really freaking hard for a guy.
Yeah,
and we can see all their patterns because we've been doing the inner work for years, or in my case, decades.
Yeah, doing the inner work, and it's like, of course. So, side note, the number one, like, who does more purchasing and shopping in the world, men or women? It's women. Who purchases more of the self-help stuff, men or women? It's women, and it's all been marketed that way. So there's two things that go on. One, men haven't been in it long enough, and two, the work that men are trying to heal with is very feminine focused, and it actually, I'm just gonna put it this way: it puts us more into our feminine where we don't need to be in it. We need more in our masculine, and it needs to be more masculine based healing and modalities and things over here that can get me into my power, my capacity, my groundedness, my ability to hold a super powerful entrepreneurial queen.
Like we're trying to get the guys to be more feminine, and it's actually the last thing that they need. We interrupt this regular moment of programming. One of our followers said, I'm like, who's wearing the pants, which I think is really awesome. So I interrupt this regular programming to show you my outfit because I'm not only wearing a dress, but I'm also wearing pants. So the modern woman, the modern entrepreneur wears a dress and pants.
I have pants on.
Yeah, you don't have a dress on.
No.
So but that like it's funny because that's a dynamic. Like I have to wear the dress and the pants, but you only need to wear the pants.
Yeah.
And I would find myself like wearing the pants too much. And we're just deep down the metaphor hole right now. But I did want to speak to that because I thought it was really sweet. And I thought it was really cool because of the pants and the dress. But us saying to our men for a long time, like there was a wave of new age spirituality that entered in the 90s that was like, you men need to like get in touch with their feminine, because we were like post women's liberation movement and like and we were kind of down on the men. And so we were post liberation movement and like men have to do their work, and like men were like, yeah, like they felt crappy for being so oppressed, being part of oppression for so long.
Yeah.
And being part of abuse for so long, so that they went all in. And sometimes the pendulum does have to swing. Like this is the thing, is it's not wrong what happened. It's swung. It's not wrong what happened. Like it had to swing, right?
Yeah.
It had to swing, but it swung so far. Like it was over here and like the men are controlling everything. And then it swung all the way over here. It's like put the women in control. And now us women are going, I just want a king. Because we feel it missing. We're like, it's missing. Where's my possible king? Women are out there looking for relationships. We were just interviewed on a summit that Ellen Arand is putting on. She's an incredible leader and she helps women find their soulmates. So we were just interviewed and we were talking about this dynamic of like women are looking for their soulmate and expecting a perfectly formed guy. But this pendulum is so far in the feminine direction.
Well, and when it swings that far in the feminine direction, in men, it means that the women, in order for that to work, it really looks like the woman is going to have to swing over to her masculine. And this is a terrible combination because it looks like it works. Like if you looked on paper, you'd be like, oh, wait, if this person's getting more in his feminine and this person's getting more in the masculine, then it's going to work, except for the fact that it's still a completely out of balance dynamic for sexual polarity and what has to go on in an actual marriage. It's like, here, you play my role and I'll play your role, even though you're designed totally differently than I'm designed, and we're actually designed better for some other things.
Yeah.
But let's just try to make this thing work. And it's like it's so out of balance right now. And it's not just out of balance in the relationship. It's out of balance in the world. Yeah. The world is suffering because men have been like gotten to a point of just shut down. There are no kings. There are no men are not like predominantly in this dynamic in their power to be able to like be there and be in capacity and show up and be grounded and be here and be able to actually hold it long enough without getting like the ego in the way to be like, oh, well, she's, like, it's this, and I had this for a long time. That's why I can speak on this.
You had this 3 days ago.
This one? What was this one 3 days ago?
Like the ability to hold my whatever.
Oh yeah, a few days ago, I definitely couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was saying.
Sorry.
It's okay. You get the point.
You get the point. Well, we had this 3 days ago. Like he's been building his capacity, and I just want to speak a little caveat or a little like what's disclaimer is that this is the dynamic that we can speak about because this is the dynamic that we live in.
Yeah.
You may disagree. Put it in the comments if you disagree. We don't care. It's welcome here. But this is the dynamic we're speaking of. And yes, to the whole thing about roles and all the stuff, but we've come so far into like we're eliminating all the roles. And then here I am experiencing in my heart and in my life the actual effects of being like, I'm a woman, I can hold it all. We don't have to have like the man does certain things and the woman does certain things, all that. But then here I am experiencing the effects of it, and it freaking hurts.
And it's one of those things, like if you just look at it from,
I'm trying to hold all the responsibility. I'm trying to hold it all.
yeah,
And it's like, I'm not able to just rest into my feminine when that happens.
right? Here's a really ridiculously small example, but sometimes there are lids she can't open that I can open. That's just the reality of it. There's some lids that she can't
Oh,
open
I got that one.
that I can open. Now, is that based on, that's just a perfect example. There are some things that I can do that she can't do because our systems are differently. So there are some roles
He's
that
gonna
I
leave
can
the heavy
do
stuff, and I don't
and I
mind.
will do that she won't do, and vice versa.
Yeah. Hey, Trina.
But that's how, I mean, in our dynamic, in our relationship, how we associate is woman, man, married, husband, wife, entrepreneurs, super powerful, high producing entrepreneurial queen. And I gotta raise up and continue to raise
A
up
king in the making.
into more and more and more of the capacity of a king that can hold that and hold my own.
Yeah. And
And this dynamic is everywhere right now in, like, I know a lot of the women who are watching it are in the same thing
yeah,
or
or they
looking for
can't
the
find a
same.
man who's able to hold it. We were just talking to Ellen about this, and that's like, you're not necessarily going to find like a fully formed king.
No.
And that's something that's come through. It came through in our hot tub episode. The first time you said it, it was like, hot tub episode. I want to do another one of those. But it was like, kings aren't, like, they're not pre-made. We have to be willing as women who are aware to
Yeah.
be participants in the process of the formation of the king.
Right? But you can't actually fix them or make them it.
We're just
What,
participating.
ladies, what you can do is hold a standard.
Hold the standard, be in your feminine. Hold the standard, be in your powerful feminine. I like that so much. So should we talk about the real stuff that happens?
Yeah.
No, Trina says, I love that you share your experiences, a desire to have what you two have. Okay, let's share some real stuff.
Yeah. So what,
Well, I mean, we
what do we
always
have go
do.
on?
I don't remember. I was going through like a really difficult day, like one of those days where it was like, I felt like crap. I felt like I wanted to quit everything. I didn't have much energy. I was like, oh, you just put on Zoom, it just like thumbed up you
What?
because you had your hand like that.
That's awesome.
Okay, I was having a crappy day. Like I was having a moment of not just like, oh, I'm having a bad day, but just what I'm going through
It was dark.
what I'm going through in my life right now, it feels like a transition, a portal, like initiation, and it's dark and it's been going on for the last 3 years. Like it's really freaking hard. Like any women in their later 40s can relate to this feeling like everything is freaking cracking and it's just really hard. So I've been going through some stuff. And I was going through and sometimes when I'm going through things, there are also things I'll notice about Stephen that's like driving me nuts. Or that he, like you just said, like raise your standard, hold the line. And so like I've got this standard that's raised up that's like, hey, we can do better, you can do better, like I can do better. Like we're like together, let's be better and do better. And I'll have that. So those two things are going on. I'm like falling apart, but I'm also got this standard and I share it with you. Or I started to share something with you and you were like, I can hold space
Is
for
that when
you.
we were walking? No, it was sitting on the couch.
Yeah, that happened yesterday when we were walking too.
Yep.
Or then maybe it was the day before. We're sitting on the couch and you were like, I can hold space for you. I got you. And so I start to unload because he said, I can hold space for you. Partway through my share, he got defensive. It was subtle, but he got defensive. Ladies, do you know what this is like? When you're like, your guy says like, share with me, tell me about it. And then partway through your sharing, he gets defensive and like starts to like take it back around subtly to him and how he's like offended by what you just said. And then you find yourself backpedaling because you're like, well, crap, I didn't mean to offend you, but you said I could share anything. And I'm going to also share things that feel true and things that are actually facts that you don't like.
Yeah.
You don't like knowing it. And then it's when women will often backpedal and be like, that's not what I meant. And next thing we know, we're not held as women. Like we're not held. And he said, I can hold you. And we're not held. And I was held in that moment. And I was like, we kind of fought. We almost could have in our past self relationships, like in our past, like a few years ago in our relationship, it would have turned into a fight because I would have said, "You're not holding space for me," because I'm aware of it. And he would have said, "You're just making up stories."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, and even in this thing that happened 2 days ago, I was like, no, 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 wait, like, stop. I had to like do everything in my power to just get us to stop the like, like we're back and forth and go like, do you see what's happening here? Like you're getting defensive because I just stated a fact, which was part of my share. And now you're going to take it away from me and not hold space for me. And I said, you said you could hold space for me and you're not. And a previous version of us would have blown up into like a 2-hour fight and we wouldn't have like really felt loving for a few days. And that was the way it used to be. And that was really crappy.
Yeah,
But
and that was
you've
one of those
changed.
that was one of those moments too where I remember, I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember like at some point being like, oh shit, like realizing that I like in that moment I couldn't hold it. I was just like, oh shit, I
Oh, you
can't
knew
hold
it in the
this.
moment.
Like kind of like if I'm from hindsight being here, that like when it happened, it was like I couldn't hold that moment. Like most of the time I can hold it now, but there was still a level of it that, yeah,
You got
offended,
triggered by a fact
defensive,
that I,
personal
yeah.
stuff. But at the same time, really what it is, and I've been talking about this a lot for men because defensiveness is a huge one. It's whatever was said. It wasn't defensiveness. I said it on social today. Defensiveness is not an emotion. It's the lid that holds the cover on what's really the truth. And it triggered something, and rather than being like staying with it and
The
being able
lid
to
that
hold in
holds the
it,
cover on the truth.
yeah,
Can somebody write that in
it's
the
the
chat
lid that holds
somewhere?
the cover on the truth, but it's also the lid that holds the cover on my joy and my happiness, because obviously it's trauma, right? There's trauma, there's things in it, regardless of whether it's big, small, where it's from, doesn't matter. But the lid that holds on is called defensiveness. And if I take it off, and yes, there are these painful things, but below it is also what I'm actually looking for is the moment before this happened, which is my joy and happiness. And if I can go through this, then I actually get that piece of myself back. But I couldn't hold it in this moment because for some reason it was just like perfect dynamics to feel too painful or something. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, I gotta hold this, but I didn't.
Yeah.
The dam cracked.
The damn crack. And because of the work that you do with men and because of the work that you do internally, when I said like you said you could hold it, you're not holding it, you're triggered and defensive right now. Previously would have been a big fight. He just went, you're probably right. That's how I know like there's a little crack in the dam. He goes, you're probably right. Because over the years, not because I care about being right. It's like you used to be like, you just want to be right. And I was like, I don't want to be right about this. It's terrible that I'm freaking right about this. But you've learned that like sometimes I have an ability to see a perspective that you can't necessarily see.
Just takes
It takes time.
time to
And so
get
he
there.
said, you're probably right. And then that was like a little crack in the dam, a little crack in like an opening in it. Like, you're probably right.
Yeah.
And that like that's because of the work you do. That's because of the work that you're training men in.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it. Like I'm grateful for that you're doing that work with men because you have to do it so deeply yourself. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
And there are relationships falling apart all around us. There are relationships falling apart in the world. And if both people aren't willing to do their work, of course, it doesn't work. But what I find right now is like your willingness to go in even deeper and become that space holder, that's being a king. Otherwise, you're like, well, I need space holding. Look at my voice. I need space held
Oh, you
too.
push holding
I
too.
need space holding. He's like, I'm like, I need you to hold space. Well, I need space holding too. Because that's one of the only times when, and can I call this out?
Oh yeah.
One of the only times when Stephen will set a
It's
boundary
true.
with me, and this will probably change from this moment forward. This is why this show is so therapeutic for us. One of the only moments he sets a boundary with me is in the moment I'm setting a boundary with him.
Yep.
I'll be like, when you do that way, that is not okay with me. And he'll be like, yeah, well, you do it all the time. And I'm like, are we freaking 14 years old right now?
Oh,
Like, what
God.
is happening? And you'll hold that for a minute and I'll be like, do you see what you're doing? Like you're trying to like, you're just flipping it and pushing the boundary that I'm setting
Yeah.
back over here. And so we got really clear about that. I was like,
Mm,
you are welcome to set boundaries
I
with
wrote it
me.
on my phone.
But
You said something.
yeah, you're welcome to set boundaries with me, but please don't set them in the moment that I'm trying to set them with you. Like choose a different time because I've seen this pattern over and over and over
You
again.
said, don't blame me for you not holding the standard, or don't blame me for, I got it on my phone. Instagram's in there, so I can't get it. But it was like, don't blame me for you not setting your boundary or whatever it is outside of it. And it's one of those things that men do a lot. Is like, and I had this thing where I'm like, wow, there's a part that feels like it doesn't actually, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Deserves not the word. It's like, I don't have a different word now. So it's almost like it doesn't deserve to, it's not the word I'm looking for, but doesn't deserve to set the boundary or have the thing or whatever it is. A lot of the times because of what you're holding on a regular basis. But at the same time, being able to have that and set that makes it so she doesn't have to hold as much. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah. Yeah. And by intuitive, you mean like counter pattern.
That's the one.
It's just like it's a pattern that he's doing. And like I've got my own and I'm always willing to be aware of it and
Your hair's nice and
open up to
familiar.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had to turn my fan on. Oh yeah, when you move the carpet, it keeps moving my phone. My Instagrammers, my Instagrammers keep getting
They're
moved.
going for a magic carpet ride
Yeah,
every
because
time.
they can see all this. We can't see it right now, but they can see all this down here.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we? Setting boundaries. So sometimes people could look at us and be like, well, I want a relationship like you. And it is, it's conscious. It doesn't mean that we don't work through stuff. And I think that that's really important to be aware of. And it's the same in business. There's a parallel reality with it. It's like people might look at it and be like, I want a business like you. It doesn't mean that I don't work through stuff on a daily basis. It doesn't mean that some days I don't feel like I want to give up. It doesn't mean some days I don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have to do, the amount that I have to hold, and the visions that I have.
Yeah, you just had this on like Monday, Tuesday, being like in a dark pit of,
I want to quit everything.
I just want to like not do anything.
Yeah.
Anybody ever got to that point where you're
Just
just
put
like,
pit in the
I don't want to do
comments.
anything
Put pit.
about anything to do with anything.
Yeah. Put pit in the comments because it's like a pit. You're just
It
like,
is.
you're in this place where it's like, oh, everything feels bad right now. So what I was saying was like in our relationship, people could look at it and go like, I want a relationship like you. But it doesn't mean that we have this like perfect floaty bliss all the time.
No.
But it means that we do work on it. We do honor each other. We do approach it with consciousness. We do our own work.
Yeah.
And we hold higher standards for each other. And sometimes we have really crappy days.
We're in like individually to 10 to like 14 hours minimum of training and work that we do on ourselves every single week individually.
Yeah, like every single day.
And then the like conversations and the things that we do and the things we do at the end of the day and the intention, like a relationship is like super intentional. Like it's not something that just works. It doesn't just work. If we were like, our relationship just works, it's a total, it's a total lie. It
Totally.
doesn't just work.
Same thing with the business. A relationship doesn't just work. A business doesn't just work. You get a dog and you want that dog to be a good dog. It doesn't just happen.
No.
There's intention to it. There's training, there's work that you put into it. And when you do, then you can reap those rewards. I
Yeah.
like your hair, by the way.
Who's?
Yours. When you go sideways.
Oh yeah. I barely see it, but I got it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So it's like, part of the intention of this, and a lot of times, like, it can come off on the front end, and there's so much of this in the industry. There's so much of this out in the world. It's just like, look at everything's perfect and everything's great, and you should want to have this. So come and buy my thing. And did it. It's not the case. The reality is like we go through stuff all the time. We're constantly working through stuff. And anybody, I heard it last week said like people are like, oh, I don't fight. If you're not, and we don't like rage fight or anything, but we have conflict. We collide with each other. If we're not colliding with each other, then our relationship is polarity wise like neutral. which
That's not
means
good.
our sexuality towards each other is neutral, and our like just everything is neutral. And that is not a place you want to be.
No.
It is not a place that any relationship wants to be, is where things are equal.
You just made me realize a distinction. Like there's a difference between conflict. Like this is I'm gonna break through live right now. There's a difference between conflict and a raging, damaging fight.
Yeah.
Like the raging, damaging fight where like you're yelling nasty things at each other and your like emotions are really high. We had those early on in our relationship.
Yeah, we had a few of those.
It was terrible. And I wasn't sure, like, I was like, whoa, these are really bad. But it's that ability to work through that and hold it. But I'm just going to go back to my realization is that there's a difference between like a damaging, emotionally damaging, raging fight and conflict. So I'm like, oh, I can embrace conflict because I feel like that's what since you started doing your deeper inner work over the last year and a half, we now have healthy conflict.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because I feel like you're actually meeting me in the awareness level of, do you see what we're doing here?
Yeah. For a long time, I just didn't
Before
want
I
to
used to
collide.
say, do you see what we're doing here? And you'd be like, no.
Yeah, because I didn't want to collide. Really, when it came down to it, is because I didn't want to collide. And really, if I look at it on an energetic level, and this is disgusting. I did not want to compete with you for masculine space, so I just gave up.
Yeah, and then you became more feminine, but it wasn't
Beta.
feminine, it was passive, it was beta, because feminine is powerful. So you became passive and beta, and then I was like, where did you go?
Yeah.
Because the man that I first got together with was like fun and powerful and like knew himself. And you got lost, like you went Michigan.
If you don't get the reference,
Watch the 5-year engagement.
5-year engagement.
What? It's hilarious. Emily Blunt and Jason Segel.
Yeah. Was it Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
5-year
hilarious.
engagement. We should watch that this weekend.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. It's adorable. Watch a 5-year
It's
engagement
hilarious.
and then message us and let us know when you see the part about Michigan.
Yeah. I'll put some
You will
other.
know what happened to Stephen.
And at the same time, I think it's a necessary point at some point, like where I just like, in a way, it felt like a necessary,
Necessary to let it all go.
yeah, a necessary journey
let
to
it all
just
go.
let it all go.
Like he let his own sense of himself go and his own, I don't
Because a
know if
lot
it's
of it was
necessary.
based on false perceptions of what it was to be a man.
Mm,
And they
yeah.
weren't serving me. So when I thought I was doing them, they would cause more, not even conflict. They were just like not work. It's not even conflict. It's just like we couldn't even collide. Collision is what's needed. We have to collide.
Yeah.
In order to have things go to another level and have deeper intimacy and have better sex and have like this, we have to be willing to collide. And I just wasn't willing to collide.
No, you just said sex on the internet.
I did say sex.
I wonder if this will get taken down.
No, you could say this
Are
stuff.
we
This isn't
allowed?
like PG-6.
Sometimes I think that the internet is.
If I can't say the word sex on the internet,
Oh no, crap. Now we've said it like 5 times. I'm teasing.
yeah, you can't
But I'm
say
kind of serious.
sex.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, don't say shit either.
Oh shit. Oh, look at we had somebody watching who just left because
Yeah.
we just started saying that word repeatedly and they were like,
Totally.
ah, it's so uncomfortable. They keep saying
That's
sex.
the two things that people don't
Money,
want to talk about. Money,
God,
money, God, and sex.
right?
Wow.
And we just had somebody join and we're like, money, God, and sex. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so we were just sharing some of the things that we were struggling through this week, and then there was something that happened. Remember where I was like, I had to get really aggressive. This is what he does when I say I got aggressive. He puts his hand over his mouth and laughs, and he doesn't do it any other time. So something happened. We were working.
Yeah.
We were having a meeting. We do a morning work meeting.
Yeah.
Not every single morning, but like we try to. So we were doing a morning work meeting, and something came up where I had to get really strong in the kind of like we were talking about earlier, where I had to get really strong in like that. No, that is not okay. Because when we're in work mode, I'm the freaking CEO. If he took the reins and became the CEO, he could, but he doesn't take them yet. So everybody, if one day Stephen takes the CEO reins, we will have a freaking party. What was I saying? Oh, so in this situation, I have to like make sure we're getting things done, make sure things are done right in the company, make sure that things are right for the company. This is a work meeting. This is about work. This is about our business. This is about our company. This is about the standards that we hold in it. And I used to back down in our relationship, and I also used to back down in my standards for the business. I don't remember what it was. If you remember, let me know. But there was something that happened where he was like, no, this is the way it is. And I was like, oh, hell no. That is not okay. And that is not true. And this is the standard. And
Well, it was that I was
is it,
on a 2 day training.
oh, you got mad at me for taking the room.
Yeah, and you were in the room.
Because this
Right.
is our
'Cause
studio. This is our office.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when it comes to recordings and shows and client calls and coaching calls and enrollment calls with people, like whoever's doing that gets priority in this room.
Yeah.
They get priority in the studio.
And it was totally because, right, I looked at your calendar, the calendar said
And that you thought it was about my
this to this. I
calendar.
did. And I was like, I got totally like heated by it.
You got offended,
What's the word? Indignant?
triggered, indignant. He was on, and I'm going to say it how I saw it. He was on a retreat for his own personal self. So he was on an online retreat for his personal self, where they were doing a bunch of like meditation and like, like you can see the dynamic here. It's usually the opposite, where the woman's doing like all the meditation and the guy's in there freaking working. But that's our relationship currently, but it's shifting.
Good.
Did you hear my dynamic that I stated that?
Yeah.
So he's on a retreat, a personal retreat. And I come into the room and I use it. And I was still in the room when he wanted to go back into his personal retreat. So he had to take his computer 10 feet away and go into a different room. 4 days later.
2 days later.
No, it was on that previous weekend. It was at the beginning of this week that happened. So it was last week. It was last week that happened. And it was the beginning of this week that we talked about it.
Thursday, Friday was the event.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday. And then we had a guest Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
And we didn't get back to work till Monday. So 4 days later. You see that, everybody? Did you see that? 4 days later, we're having a meeting and he slips in there. Yeah, well, you took the room. I was like, what the are you talking about? And he was like, like we're getting deep here, everybody, with the actual details of what happened. He's like, you took the room. And we were just going to carry on. And I was like, wait, what just happened there? Like, what did you just say? He's like, you took the room. Your calendar was wrong. And he was like, at me a little bit for it. And I would have backed down, but I was like, wait a minute. You were on a personal retreat. I was bringing in money for the business that we are paid by. And you are acting like a little bitch. And I got really aggressive with him. Like, I was like, that is not okay. What you just said and did was totally unsupportive, and it is not okay. And I got quite like, because he was like, no, but your calendar was wrong. And he was like coming at me with my calendar was wrong. And I was out of integrity with my calendar. And and I was like, hold on a freaking minute. I'm bringing in money for our business. I was doing something for the business. You were on a personal retreat. So back down. And I like, excuse me, I really held the line in it. And I got really, in my world, super freaking aggressive. I got so aggressive with him to be like, stop. You cannot say that my calendar was wrong because you were put out because you had to move your computer 10 feet to be on your freaking retreat. So I was really like, "Ugh." And for a moment you were trying to come back at me, and then I don't know what made you put it down finally and hear me.
I just didn't defend.
And this is the work that he's doing and teaching men. Like, you didn't defend.
It's so easy to defend. It's so easy because men have the trump card.
And you started to
We have a
defend.
trump
You were
card.
like,
The trump card is this.
He was like, you don't respect me.
I just defend. If I defend and shut it down, she can't get through.
Yeah.
If she can't get through, even though we're not going to connect, it doesn't matter. I still, if I think of this way, then I win.
Yeah.
There's no win. It's always a loss.
And for a moment you tried to make it about that I didn't respect you or honor you by like staying true to my calendar when I was using the room. And I was like, but I was making money for the business, so move your computer. And his mind and the outside world could have looked at it and went like, yeah, you were in overtime and you knew he was on an important retreat. You could look at it from that side. But I was like, if I'm in the money making position and I'm in the deciding position and I'm in the like power position, don't put me in the position to have to like retract on that. And then this is the funny part. Can we get to the funny part?
Yeah.
The funny part is like a couple of days later when we're talking about it, I was like, I had to get really aggressive with you. And he's like, what are you talking about? That other morning when I told you to back down about your retreat and I needed the room, I had to get really aggressive. And this is his response. He's laughing at me with his head. Like he
I
literally,
was like, oh, you got it. You got aggressive
he's like,
there.
what are you talking about? I was like, I got so aggressive. And because I was telling him that it's actually hard on me to have to do that.
Uh-huh.
Like it actually, I do not want to do that.
You know what's really cool about it though? What's really cool about it is in order to actually do that, and this is what I'm really aware of this time, in order to actually do that, you didn't actually have to get into your masculine to do it. You were actually really in your like firm feminine
Yeah. Like I had to stand for the
that
company,
called me into
myself.
more of actual like my kingdom, my
Yeah.
kingness.
And the weird like turnaround of it is you could have thought, oh, if I back down from this, then she has the power. So I can't, like you could have thought, I can't back down from this. She should have given me the room. And then you would maintain your power, but that would be a total false illusion. The fact that you went, crap, like you're actually right. I was on a retreat. You were
Yeah.
making money for us. I'm sorry.
The reason why
That's
it's
powerful.
possible
And
to
that
do.
shows me like that shows me you're being a king. Sorry.
Yeah, the reason why it's possible to do is so the truth is very manipulative. It's very like malleable,
No.
right? Like I could hold that and be like, that's the truth. Like that's the truth, and this is what
He
happened.
should
And
have
I could just
moved.
hold that,
Mhm.
right? But living by so in what I do and in how I live by a code. And the code is stop lying and tell the truth, but it's not just based on the truth. It's actually based on actual facts, actual feelings, actual focus, like what was it focused on, and actually what's the fruit of what's going on. It's actually based on something. It's not the truth will set you free, it's the facts will set you free. And the facts in this moment, when we can look at them, clearly state that my story was very skewed to what the actual reality was. And
Yeah.
the reality was what you just said. It's like, yeah, you're right.
And I was like,
It's
I
gotten
was like,
so good right now. It's gotten so good lately that I don't even actually try to defend. I go, you know what? This is where my mindset is lately. Rather than even defending, even if there is something to defend, I'm actually going to do the complete opposite and just be like, yeah, I'll own that.
and then I'm like, what just happened? Like it just like I just put it down
This is not even,
because you just go, oh,
it's not worth fighting
yeah.
because that's not a battle.
And it's not that he thinks like, I know I'm right, but I'm gonna tell her she's right.
Nah.
That voice that I do.
Uh,
I know I'm right. I'm gonna tell her. No, it's like he actually puts it down enough to go, holy crap. I'm asking her to hold so much. And then I complain that I have to move my computer on a retreat while she's holding the thing that we both know is a problem for her to hold the whole thing. That's why I held my line so strong. It wasn't about the moment of like, I'm in the room, he needs to move his computer. It wasn't about that. It was about the whole thing of like, I'm already holding so much. Don't ask me to hold more now. And then don't ask me to be the one to even call it out. And that's why I said I had to get aggressive and I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be the one to call it out.
Yeah.
I want you to come to me and say, you know what? I was triggered by you being in the room and I realized that you're making money for our company and you're holding the line and you're holding so much. And I was on a retreat and it was shitty that I was triggered. And I'm sorry. Like, that's what I want.
Good one.
I'm waiting to see if he actually does it in the moment on live on camera.
Oh, I've said I'm sorry about it.
No, but you know that I always love to hear it again and again.
Yeah. You're right. Man, these words right here, you ready for it? You're right. I'm sorry.
And men, put details on it because it's not enough to just say, you're right, I'm sorry. Like we want to know about what and why.
Defending something that it wasn't even defending something. Well, maybe it was defense. Was it defense?
Which
Defending something that
on that
wasn't
day.
actually true. A lot of it really came down to like the we run these stories like the stories the story I have about myself is the story of how I see the world. And so in that moment, like in those moments when those things happen, it's very easy to be like, this is what happened. But how do we know that's what happened? How do I know that's actually what happened? It's what happens based on my current frame of how I see myself and how I talk to myself and what goes on. But the more we pull these things away, the more it goes like, well, did that even happen? Was that actually what happened? Like, what's the evidence for what happened? This is why inquiry is a thing. Like, what's the evidence? What's actually going on? Like, where are all these different things to be able to pull it apart and be like, it doesn't hold up.
So what did you discover personally in that situation? Is there like you're talking about the thing? So let's like hear what it is. Like in that situation, what was the evidence? Like what did you? Because I just revealed like all my side of what happened.
Yeah.
So what actually was the evidence?
What was the evidence of that? I mean, one of the main things was that my story that I was telling myself was inaccurate. And it was very much indignant to like, no, this is what happened. She did this thing to me. She's out of integrity. She had this thing. To what's really happened was that on the back end of it, that my story was wrong because the reality is that income is produced by this other thing over here and income produced by this one right here. And we have an agreement that this room is priority for income producing and business stuff. So regardless of whether I felt a certain way about a certain thing, the truth, the actual facts state to, oh, wait, no, I actually am out of agreement with our agreement.
Oof. This is the first time I've heard you say it, that. So like I think I was, and this is why our show is so therapeutic for us because we're like talking about our real stuff, and it's like it's the first time I've heard you actually like say it. And that's what I just said. Like you said, I'm sorry, you're right. But I'm like, if I don't hear you say the details of what your understanding is and the facts, then I don't know if you're just pacifying and saying it or if you really get it.
Yeah.
So what you just said, can you say it again? Because it felt so good.
I was out of integrity with our agreement to what this room was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another therapy session. Empower couples.
Scintillating.
I appreciate that. And that's my intention. I think it's both of our intention for this show that it's like if we're sharing the truth of it, we're going to work through all of it. Like we have to actually see that conversation all the way through to the end so that we can come out the other side and not finish the show and be like, I'm going to get aggressive again. Or you have to get offended or whatever. It's just like we come all the way through to the other side of talking about something and it feels really good.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for being so real, so honest.
Now let's go walk before it gets dark.
We're going to go walk now. This is what we do at the end of the day. We're going to do our end of day walk, hot tub, check in, all the things that we do. And maybe we'll put it into like a document at some point. If those of you who want to know like what we do at the end of the day and like have it written down.
End of day.
It's a thing. It's like a system or what should we call it? It's like an end of the day thing.
It's our end of day secrets at the moment.
Yeah, is our secrets of what
It's
we
how
do.
we.
If you want the secret, put secret in the comments. Like it's our end of the day, what we do. And if you want that, just put yes in the comments or put like send it to me. Put send it to me in the comments because then we'll know if you eventually create something like that you would actually want that to share it with your partner and do it together.
Yeah, and really when it comes down to it, it's what I lead at the end of the day.
He has to lead it.
I'm the one who brought it. I'm the one who created it. I'm the one who leads it. She doesn't.
And there's a specific reason for that. It's because if I lead it, I feel like it's just another thing that I'm forcing him to do, or that I'm like, well, let's do this conscious or this healing or this therapeutic or whatever thing. And then he's going to be resentful. So he leads it and I get to rest into my feminine.
Yeah.
And it's so nice. So thank you for leading it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. So I look forward to it now. Like we've been doing it really solidly for what, 6 weeks?
Something like that.
Maybe even a little, but it feels like more solid now. Like we've been doing it for the last couple of months, but it feels even more solid.
I mean,
now.
if we're not doing, and this is one of the things that I like, I'm constantly talking about with men. If we're not doing end of day check-ins, for example, if we're not doing end of day check-ins and the what it's all involved in it, then it's going to build up. She's gonna still want to talk and have stuff that goes on and have to decompress. So you know where it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out when we go on a date night. It's gonna come out when we're just trying to hang out. It's gonna come out in things where we should actually just be connecting and being together and having a different part of a relationship. So we just talk about it on a day-to-day basis so it doesn't build up.
Yeah.
It's like gotta let the steam off that thing every single day.
Gotta let it off, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So, ladies, if you're still looking for your king, don't give up. He's out there. He just needs to be formed and forged in the fires of life and forged in the fires of your queenhood.
Love it.
Right?
Yep.
And couples, if you're out there and you're like, how do we actually like work through stuff? This is how you do it. So we want to hear from you for real. Send us private messages on Instagram or Facebook and just tell us if you like this show.
You can find her at,
Elizabeth Ocean Biz
you can find me at Stephen Ocean Life on Instagram.
and Facebook.
Oh yeah, I guess Facebook. I'm
Yeah.
never really in Facebook, so
Yeah,
find me on
it's
Instagram.
Booker. And just keep being amazing in your couplehood, everybody. Keep growing in your entrepreneurial dreams because when you do it together, we all get better. I'm going to say goodbye to Instagram first.
Oh,
So,
I am too.
bye,
Instagram,
Instagram, we love you.
Yowza.
And to our power couples watching everywhere else, I'm going to come up to my computer and press the goodbye button. We love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Where's my record button? Oh, there it is.